The bathroom tile was cold against my cheek. I couldn't remember falling. One moment I'd been standing at the kitchen counter, one hand pressed to my belly where the pup had been kicking all morning. The next, Ki-hyun's voice had gone quiet in that terrible way that meant I'd said the wrong thing again. Then his boot connected with my stomach and the world went sideways. Now I was here, locked behind a door that wouldn't hold much longer, tasting copper and trying not to throw up. My phone screen was cracked, had been for months, but it still glowed in the dim light. 3% battery, maybe enough. The pounding started again. Ki-hyun's fist against wood, rhythmic and patient. He wasn't angry anymore. That would have been easier. This was worse. This was the sound he made when he'd already decided what came next. Yoonseo, his voice drifted through the gap beneath the door, almost gentle. You're being dramatic. Open up so we can talk. My hand shook as I pulled up my messages. Hana's name sat at the top of the list. My best friend, my lifeline, the only person who knew how bad things had gotten. She'd told me to leave months ago. I should have listened. I tried to type, but my fingers were slick with something. Blood, maybe, or sweat. The letters blurred together. He kicked my belly. The baby, please, I need help. I added the address, sent it, heard the soft whoosh of the message leaving. Then I saw the number. Not Hana's, not even close. My stomach dropped. Wrong contact, wrong person. Some random number I must have texted by mistake. Probably a wrong digit when I'd been half asleep and the door shuttered. Ki-hyun had stopped talking. I can smell you, he said quietly. Fear doesn't suit you, sweetheart. Makes you reek. I pressed my palm flat against my belly, searching for movement. The pup had gone still. Too still. Panic clawed up my throat, sharp enough to choke on. My phone buzzed. I stared at the screen, vision swimming. A reply. From the wrong number. Don't move. We're coming. We? I didn't have time to process it. The door frame splintered, just a crack, and I scrambled backward until my spine hit the tub. There was nowhere left to go. Ki-hyun could break through whenever he wanted. He was an alpha, stronger, faster, built to overpower, and I was just an omega who'd made the mistake of thinking a bond meant safety. He'd marked me 3 years ago, right after we'd met. I'd been so stupidly grateful, so sure it meant he loved me. Now the scar on my neck burned like a brand I couldn't scrape off. Another buzz. Same number. 10 minutes. Hold on. I almost laughed. 10 minutes. As if I had that long. As if some stranger on the other end of a misdialed text could do anything that mattered. But I wanted to believe it. God, I wanted to. The door splintered again. Ki-hyun's knuckles appeared through the gap, pale and bleeding. He didn't even flinch. You think you can hide from me? His voice was still calm. That was the worst part. He never yelled anymore. Didn't need to. You think anyone's going to help you? You're mine, Yoonseo. That pup is mine. And when I get in there... He stopped mid-sentence. I heard it too. Footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, fast, too sure to be a neighbor. The air shifted, pressure dropping like the moment before a storm broke. Ki-hyun went quiet. Then someone knocked. Not on the bathroom door, on the apartment door. 3 sharp raps, controlled and deliberate. Ki-hyun Choi! The voice from the other side was low, smooth, and colder than anything I'd ever heard. Step away from the door. Now! Ki-hyun laughed. Actually laughed. Who the hell? The front door didn't open. It exploded inward with a crack so loud I felt it in my ribs. Wood splintered. Metal shrieked. And then there were footsteps again, closer this time, purposeful and unhurried. I couldn't see anything from where I was huddled, but I felt it, the sudden weight in the air, the kind of presence that made your hindbrain scream predator before your conscious mind caught up. 2 voices now, both male, both laced with the kind of dominance that made Ki-hyun's attempts at control look like a child playing pretend. You've got about 3 seconds, the first voice said, to decide if you want to walk out of here or get carried. Ki-hyun's breathing turned ragged. I'd never heard him sound like that. Winded, uncertain, almost afraid. This is my home, that's my... Your what? The second voice cut in, quieter but somehow sharper. Your husband? The one you just assaulted while he's pregnant? Silence. Then the bathroom door handle turned from the outside. Slow, steady. I stopped breathing. The door swung open, and I looked up into the face of a man I'd never seen before. Dark eyes, sharp jaw, expression carved from stone. He was tall enough to fill the doorway, broad-shouldered in a way that screamed alpha, and he was staring at me like I was the only thing in the room that mattered. Behind him, another man, identical face, same cold intensity, stood with one hand wrapped around Ki-hyun's throat. The first man crouched in front of me, gaze dropping to where my hands were still pressed against my belly. "You're safe now," he said, and for the first time in 3 years, I almost believed it. Then their scent hit me, both of them, at once. Pine and storm and something wild I couldn't name, layered over each other until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. It crashed into me like a wave, drowning out the stale air of the apartment, the copper tang of blood, even the fear that had been choking me seconds ago. My body went hot, then cold, then something else entirely. No, this wasn't right. I already had a bond. Ki-hyun's mark sat dead on my neck, a scar that never warmed. This shouldn't be possible. The one crouched in front of me reached out slowly, palm open. Every cell in my body screamed at me to take his hand, to let him pull me close, to bury my face in his neck and breathe until the shaking stopped. I jerked backward instead, spine hitting porcelain. His hand froze. Dark eyes tracked the movement, then dropped to where both my palms pressed against my belly. Something shifted in his face, too quick to catch. Behind him, the other twin still had Ki-hyun pinned to the wall, one hand wrapped around his throat. Ki-hyun's feet dangled 6 inches off the ground, and he was clawing at the grip with both hands. "Let go of me!" Ki-hyun's voice came out strangled, desperate. "That's my husband, my pup. You have no right." The twin holding him leaned in close, said something too low for me to hear. Ki-hyun went bone white. Then he was being dragged toward the door, or what was left of it. The frame hung in splinters, the lock mechanism bent and useless on the floor. "Walk!" The second twin's voice was quiet, controlled, and somehow more terrifying than a shout. "Or I drag you!" Ki-hyun stumbled forward, then twisted back to look at me. His eyes were wild, bright with rage and something that might have been fear. "You think they're going to save you? They'll ruin you. Everyone will know what you really are." The twin's hand tightened on his arm. Ki-hyun gasped, and whatever else he was going to say died in his throat. They disappeared into the hallway. I heard the shuffle of feet, the low murmur of threats I couldn't make out, and then nothing. The one still in the bathroom hadn't moved. He was watching me like I might shatter if he breathed too hard. "My name is Taemin." His tone was careful, measured. "That's my brother, Jae-ha. We're not going to hurt you." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But I'd believe Ki-hyun once too. Taemin shifted, angling his body so he wasn't blocking the doorway, giving me space. The gesture caught me off guard enough that I looked up, met his eyes directly. Mistake. The pull slammed into me harder this time, visceral and undeniable. His pupils blew wide, and I knew he felt it too. Felt me. This wasn't how bonds worked. They didn't ignite like this. Instant and all-consuming. Ki-hyun's mark had been deliberate, planned, something he'd done to claim me after weeks of circling. It had never felt warm, never felt right. This felt like being set on fire. Pain stabbed through my abdomen, sharp and vicious. I doubled over with a gasp, pressing harder against my belly. The pup. Something was wrong. The earlier kick had been too brutal, and now there was a deep ache spreading low, the kind that made my vision blur at the edges. Taemin moved. 1 second he was across the room, the next his arm was around my shoulders, steadying me before I could topple sideways into the tub. "Easy, I've got you." His warmth seeped through my shirt, his scent wrapped around me, thick and grounding, and my hindbrain screamed at me to lean in, to trust, to let go. I shoved weakly at his chest. "Don't touch. I can't. You're bleeding." I looked down. Fresh blood had soaked through my jeans, spreading dark and wet down my thigh. The floor tilted. Jae-ha reappeared in the doorway, moving fast and silent. His gaze locked on the blood, then flicked to his brother. Something passed between them, unspoken and immediate. "Car's ready!" Jeha's voice was clipped. Then his eyes found mine, and I felt it again. That same pull, just as strong. "Can you walk?" I tried to stand. My knees buckled. Taman caught me, arms sliding beneath my legs as he lifted me in one smooth motion. The world spun, and suddenly I was surrounded by him, his scent flooding my senses until I couldn't think past the warmth and the safety and the terrible, desperate need to stay exactly where I was. No, no, I couldn't do this. "Put me down." My voice sounded wrecked even to my own ears. "I don't know you. I don't. You're losing too much blood." Jeha was already clearing a path, stepping over debris. "Fight us later." They carried me through the apartment, past the shattered door, into a hallway that smelled like old paint and microwave dinners. A neighbor's door cracked open, then slammed shut. Outside, a sleek black SUV idled at the curb. Tinted windows, the kind of vehicle that didn't belong in this neighborhood. Jeha opened the back door. Taman slid inside with me, still in his arms, and suddenly we were in an enclosed space and both their scents hit me at once, layered and overwhelming. I couldn't breathe. The pup still wasn't moving. Jeha climbed into the driver's seat, and when he glanced back at me through the rearview mirror, his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. He felt it too. They both did. "Drive," Taman said, voice rough. The engine roared to life. We peeled away from the curb, and I realized I had no idea where we were going, who these men were, what they wanted from me. All I knew was that Ki-hyun's mark felt like ice, and their presence felt like standing too close to an open flame. Something inside me was unraveling, heat building low in my spine, spreading outward in waves I couldn't control. My suppressants had run out weeks ago. Ki-hyun said I didn't need them. He'd been wrong. Taman's grip on me tightened. His jaw clenched hard enough I heard his teeth grind. Jeha inhaled sharply from the front seat, shoulders going rigid. They'd both noticed. "Tell me you're on suppressants," Jeha said, voice strained. I couldn't answer. The truth lodged in my throat like broken glass. The silence stretched too long. Taman exhaled slowly, a sound caught somewhere between a growl and a curse. When he spoke, his voice was barely human. "We have 10 minutes before you go into full heat. Maybe less." The words barely registered before another wave hit me, rolling through my body like fever and want twisted together into something I couldn't control. My skin felt too tight. The air in the car was suffocating, thick with their scent until every breath tasted like pine and rain and something that made my hindbrain beg for things I couldn't afford to want. I pressed my face against Taman's shoulder, trying to breathe through it. Wrong move. His scent was stronger there, concentrated where his pulse thrummed steady beneath skin and fabric. A sound escaped me. Small, broken, desperate. Taman went rigid. His arm tightened around me, careful not to press against my stomach, but firm enough I felt surrounded, protected. The urge to sink into him was overwhelming. "How far to the clinic?" His voice came out strained. 5 minutes. Jeha's knuckles were bone white on the steering wheel. "Maybe 4 if I—" "Don't crash." Taman's jaw worked like he was grinding his teeth into powder. "Just get us there." Another cramp seized my abdomen, different from the others, sharper, deeper. I curled into it with a gasp, and fresh warmth spread down my thigh. More blood. Too much blood. "The pup." My voice cracked. "Something's wrong with—" "We know." Jeha's eyes found mine in the rearview mirror, and the intensity there stole what little breath I had left. "We're getting you help. Just hold on." The heat was building faster now, making my thoughts scatter like birds startled into flight. I couldn't think past the need clawing through me, the terrible pull toward both of them that made no sense and perfect sense all at once. Ki-hyun's mark throbbed on my neck. Cold. Dead. A brand that had never felt like anything but a shackle. This felt like coming home. No, I couldn't think like that. I didn't know these men. Didn't know what they wanted from me beyond. Pain ripped through me, white-hot and vicious. I screamed. Taman's hand found the back of my neck, steadying me. "Breathe. Just breathe through it. I can't. The baby isn't. He's not. 3 minutes, Jeha said, and the engine roared louder. The world blurred. Buildings streaked past the tinted windows, streetlights bleeding into ribbons of gold. My body was burning from the inside out, heat and pain tangling until I couldn't separate one from the other. The SUV jerked to a stop, doors open. Cold air rushed in, shocking against my overheated skin. Taman was moving, carrying me through automatic glass doors into a space that smelled like antiseptic and bleach. "Private suite," he snapped at someone I couldn't see. "Now!" Hands reached for me, strange hands. I flinched, and a low growl rumbled through Taman's chest. "We've got him." A woman's voice, firm but not unkind. "Sir, you need to let us—" "I'm not letting go." "Taman!" Jeha's voice cut through, commanding. "Let them work." A pause, then I was being lowered onto something soft. A gurney. The ceiling tiles above me were white and endless. Someone pressed cold fingers to my wrist, checking my pulse. Another voice called out numbers I didn't understand. "How far along?" The woman again, closer now. 7 months. My tongue felt thick. "Maybe 8. I don't." Another contraction hit, and this time I felt something shift low in my pelvis. Pressure. Terrible, impossible pressure. "He's in labor." The woman's voice sharpened. "Get me a fetal monitor and prep for emergency delivery. Move!" No. No, it was too early. The pup wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. The heat was still climbing, making everything hazy at the edges. I could smell them, both of them, somewhere close by, and my body was screaming for them, even as my mind tried to hold on to some shred of reason. "You need to step back." The woman was talking to the twins now. "Both of you. He's going into heat, and we need to stabilize." "We're not leaving." Jeha's tone left no room for argument. "Then stay out of the way." Hands moved over me, checking, prodding. Someone cut away my jeans. Cold gel on my stomach. A wand pressing down, and then a sound filled the room. A heartbeat, fast and fluttering, but there. The pup was alive. I sobbed, relief and terror crashing together. Heartbeat is elevated but steady. The woman's voice softened fractionally. "Okay, we're going to get you through this." Time fractured after that. Contractions came in waves, each one dragging me under until I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but endure. The heat made everything worse, turning pain into something edged with need I had no way to satisfy. I heard Taman's voice at one point, low and rough. "Can you give him something? Anything?" "Not while he's in active labor. It could harm the pup." "Then what do we—" "You wait, and you pray he's strong enough." I wanted to tell them I wasn't, that I'd never been strong enough for any of this. But another contraction tore the words away, and all I could do was grip the rails of the bed and try not to break apart completely. Hours blurred together, or maybe minutes. I couldn't tell anymore. "Push," someone commanded. I did. My body knew what to do, even if my mind had stopped keeping track. "Again, come on, you're almost there." Pain like being split in half, a pressure that felt endless. Then a release so sudden I gasped, crying, high and thin and furious. "It's a boy." They lifted him where I could see, tiny, red face, covered in fluid and screaming his lungs out. He was so small, too small. "He's early but breathing on his own. Good reflexes. We need to get him to the NICU for monitoring." They whisked him away before I could reach for him, and the loss hit me like a physical blow. "Wait, please, we need the father's signature for the NICU admission." A nurse appeared, clipboard in hand. "Is he here?" Silence. Taman and Jaiha both looked at me. I couldn't form words. Couldn't think past the exhaustion dragging me down. "Call Ki-hyun Choi," I managed. He's the father." Someone made the call. I heard murmuring, the shuffle of feet. Then Ki-hyun walked in. He looked at me once, face twisted with disgust. Then his eyes found the clipboard. "You need me to sign for the pup?" His voice was ice. "Yes, sir. Just here and—" "No." The nurse blinked. "I'm sorry?" Ki-hyun's smile was cruel. "I'm not the father, so ask that fucking slut who he spread his legs for." The room went silent. I stared at him, the words not making sense. Not the father. But that was impossible. The pup was his, had to be his. What? My voice came out broken. Under pack law, Ki-hyun said slowly, like explaining to a child, infidelity is punishable by death. He turned and walked out. No. The word tried to claw its way out of my throat, but all that came was a broken rasp. I tried to sit up, to reach for him, to make him take it back. My arms shook. My body wouldn't cooperate. Wait. The sound barely made it past my lips. That's not... I didn't... No one was listening. Footsteps pounded after Ki-hyun. Heavy, fast. Then a crash as something slammed into the wall outside. Get back here. Jaeha's voice, low and lethal. I heard a grunt, the scuffle of feet. Then Ki-hyun was being dragged back into the room, Taemin's hand fisted in the back of his shirt. Ki-hyun stumbled, caught himself, and straightened with a sneer plastered across his face like armor. You claimed that pup for months. Taemin's voice was barely controlled, each word bitten off sharp. You told everyone he was yours. So why the hell are you denying him now? Because he's not. Ki-hyun's tone was ice and venom. My vision blurred. The room tilted sideways. You're lying. Jaeha moved closer, crowding into Ki-hyun's space. You don't get to walk away from this. Ki-hyun laughed. Actually laughed. Then he pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times, and held it up. Someone sent me this. Thought I should know what kind of Omega I'd married. He turned the phone toward them. I couldn't see the screen from where I was, but I saw their faces change. Taemin's jaw went tight. Jaeha's eyes narrowed. What is that? My voice cracked, barely audible. I tried to push myself up on my elbows. Failed. Tried again. What are you... Let me see... Ki-hyun's gaze slid to me, cold and satisfied. He angled the phone so I could see. The video was grainy, dim lighting, but I recognized the location. Some kind of event hall. People in formal clothes blurred in the background. And there, in the center of the frame, was me. I looked wrong. Eyes unfocused. Movements unsteady. Someone's hand was on my arm, leading me toward a hallway. I went without resistance, like a puppet on strings. I didn't remember this. Any of it. No! The word tore out of me. I don't... That's not... Charity gala, Ki-hyun said, voice dripping false sympathy. 8 months ago, you disappeared for 2 hours, came back reeking of another alpha. He tilted his head, studying me like something he'd scraped off his shoe. Ring any bells? My hands fisted in the sheets. I tried to shake my head, but the movement made the room spin. I don't remember. Tears were streaming down my face now, hot and humiliating. I swear I don't remember any of that. Please, you have to believe me. Doesn't matter if you remember. Ki-hyun pocketed his phone. The evidence speaks for itself. That doesn't prove anything. Taemin's voice was dangerously quiet. You're still his husband. You've been with him. Oh, I know. Ki-hyun's smile was sharp, cruel. But I also know biology. Scent markers don't lie. Neither do conception dates. He looked straight at me. I had you tested. Multiple times. The pup's genetics don't match mine. The words hit like a physical blow. I gasped, curling in on myself as much as my exhausted body would allow. No. My voice broke. That's impossible. You're the only one who... Am I? Ki-hyun's eyebrow arched. Because that video says otherwise. I tried to speak, to explain, but my throat had closed around the words. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of what he was saying. Tested? Genetics? But the pup had to be his. There was no one else. I would have known. I would have remembered. Wouldn't I? Jaeha took a step forward, and the air pressure in the room shifted. His scent spiked, sharp with barely leashed violence. Get out! Ki-hyun didn't move. He was looking at the twins now, something calculating in his expression. The child of a slut is a slut, he said slowly, like he was tasting each word. Pack law is clear on that. The pup's as illegitimate as his carrier. His smile widened. But if you're so desperate to save your little charity case, you could always claim the bastard yourselves. The suggestion hung in the air, mocking and impossible. I tried to speak, to tell them they didn't have to, that I'd figure something out. but my throat closed around the words. My vision was graying at the edges, exhaustion dragging me under. We will. Taemin's voice cut through the haze. I blinked, not sure I'd heard right. Ki-hyun's smile faltered. What? We'll claim him. Jaeha's tone was flat, final. The pup is ours now. The room went silent. Ki-hyun stared at them like they'd lost their minds. Then his expression twisted into something ugly. You can't be serious. Sign the papers over. Taemin held out his hand to the nurse, who was still frozen with the clipboard clutched to her chest. Now, she fumbled with the forms, hands shaking as she passed them over. Taemin signed first, bold and deliberate, then Jaeha. They didn't hesitate, didn't even look at each other for confirmation. When they were done, Taemin stepped forward and shoved the clipboard into Ki-hyun's chest hard enough to make him stumble back. Get out. Don't ever come near him or the pup again. Ki-hyun's face went red. You think you can just... Jaeha moved. One moment he was standing still, the next his hand was on Ki-hyun's shoulder, spinning him toward the door. Out! They marched him into the hallway. I heard the door slam. Then Ki-hyun's voice, muffled but furious, rising, in volume. You'll regret this, both of you. That Omega is poison, and you just signed your death warrant by taking in his bastard. Something hit the door from the outside. Hard, then again. The sound of fists pounding against metal, each strike punctuated by threats I couldn't make out through the ringing in my ears. You hear me? Pack law doesn't forgive this. They'll come for all of you. His voice cracked on the last word, rage bleeding into something that almost sounded like panic. Then silence, retreating footsteps, fast and uneven, fading into nothing. The twins came back into the room. Their scents were still sharp, laced with adrenaline, and something protective that wrapped around me even from across the space. They looked at me. I looked back, tears still streaming, my whole body shaking with exhaustion and confusion and fear I couldn't name. Why? The question came out broken, barely more than a whisper. You don't even know me. You don't have to. Yes, we do. Taemin's voice was rough, raw in a way I hadn't heard before. Jaeha moved to the other side of the bed, and suddenly they were both close, surrounding me with warmth and that scent that made my hindbrain scream safety even as my rational mind tried to hold on to reason. The pup is ours now, Jaeha said quietly, his eyes holding mine, which means you are too. I opened my mouth to argue, to tell them that wasn't how any of this worked, that they couldn't just claim someone else's life because they felt like it. But my body gave out first, dragging me down into darkness before I could say a word. When I woke, everything was different. The ceiling above me wasn't hospital white anymore. It was soft gray, expensive looking, with recessed lighting that didn't hurt my eyes. The bed beneath me felt like sinking into clouds, nothing like the stiff medical mattress I'd passed out on. I turned my head, and that's when I heard it. A soft sound. Tiny. The kind that made my chest ache before my brain even caught up. My pup. I tried to sit up too fast. Pain lanced through my abdomen, sharp enough to steal my breath, but I pushed through it. There, in a bassinet beside the bed, wrapped in a pale blue blanket, he was sleeping. He was so small, fragile. His little fists curled near his face, chest rising and falling in a rhythm that made my heart stutter. 2 days. The thought surfaced from somewhere deep. I'd been here 2 days based on the way my body felt, less raw, more tired than broken. The twins had been taking care of us, both of us. I didn't know how to feel about that. The door opened and Taemin stepped in carrying a tray. He stopped when he saw me awake, something shifting in his expression. You're up. His voice was quiet, careful. How are you feeling? I didn't answer. Couldn't. My throat was too tight, and there were too many questions fighting to get out at once. He set the tray on the dresser and moved closer, but stopped a few feet from the bed, giving me space. The gesture felt deliberate. I don't remember. The words spilled out before I could stop them. That night at the gala, I don't remember any of it. I swear I don't. Taemin's jaw tightened. We know. You don't. My voice cracked. You can't know. You weren't there. You don't. We requested the security footage. Jaha's voice came from the doorway. I hadn't heard him approach. From the venue. Everything from that night. Hope flared so sharp it hurt. And? It's gone! Jaha stepped into the room and suddenly they were both there, flanking me like sentries. All of it, every camera, every backup, wiped clean. The hope died as fast as it had come. That's not possible. My hands fisted in the blanket. Security footage doesn't just disappear. Someone has to. Someone did. Taemin's tone was grim. Whoever sent that video to Ki-hyun made sure there was no other evidence. I stared at them, trying to process what that meant. No footage, no proof, no way to know what really happened to me that night. No way to prove I didn't choose it. A knock at the door made all three of us freeze. Jaha moved first, fast and silent. He opened the door just enough to see who was there, and I watched his shoulders go rigid. What do you want? Pack business. The voice from the other side was clipped, official. We need to speak with Yoonseo Choi. My stomach dropped. Jaha looked back at me, something dark in his eyes. Then he stepped aside. Two men in dark suits walked in. They didn't look at the twins, didn't acknowledge the pup sleeping in the bassinet. Their eyes locked on me, and I felt pinned under the weight of their stares. Yoonseo Choi, it wasn't a question. You've been summoned to appear before the PAC Council in 7 days to answer charges of adultery under PAC law. The room tilted. We're not arresting you at this time due to the child's age. The second enforcer's gaze flicked to the bassinet, then back to me. But failure to appear will result in immediate detention. They handed me an envelope, heavy paper, official seal. Then they left. The door clicked shut, and the silence that followed felt like drowning. 7 days. My voice didn't sound like mine. They're going to PAC law. We're not going to let that happen. Taemin was beside me suddenly, close enough I could feel the heat of him. We'll figure this out. How? I looked up at him, and I knew my eyes were wild. There's no evidence, no footage, nothing to prove I didn't, that I wasn't. You weren't. Jaha's voice cut through my spiral. Whatever happened that night, it wasn't your fault. You don't know that. Tears were burning behind my eyes. You can't know that. Yes, we can. I shook my head, and that's when the idea hit me. Terrible. Desperate. But the only thing I had left. I need to see Ki-hyun. Both of them went still. No. Taemin's response was immediate. He knows what happened. I pushed myself up straighter, ignoring the way my body protested. He has that video. He knows more than he's saying. I need to talk to him. I need to demand the truth. He won't tell you anything. Jaha's tone was hard. He's the one who put you in this position. Then I'll make him tell me. My voice rose, surprising even myself. I'll beg if I have to. I'll do whatever it takes. But I'm not going to trial without knowing what really happened to me. They exchanged a look. Some silent conversation I wasn't part of. Please. The word came out broken. I need to know. The silence stretched. Then Jaha exhaled slowly. Fine, but we're there with you, and if he tries anything, I don't care what he tries. I met his eyes. Just get him here. It took an hour of pacing and feeding the pup and trying not to let my hands shake every time I thought about what I was going to say. When the knock came, my heart jumped into my throat. Jaha opened the door and Ki-hyun walked in like he owned the place. His eyes found me first, then dropped to the pup in my arms. Something flickered across his face, too fast to read. You wanted to see me. His tone was bored, dismissive. Here I am. I stood cradling the pup close. Tell me what happened that night, at the gala. Tell me the truth. Ki-hyun tilted his head, studying me like I was something mildly interesting under glass. The truth? Please. My voice cracked. I need to know. He smiled, slow, cold. I'll tell you everything, every detail, exactly what happened and who was there. Hope flared again, painful and bright. But you have to do something for me first. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket. Sell me the pup. Sign over all parental rights. Do that, and I'll give you the truth. The world stopped. I stared at him, unable to process what he'd just said. You? What? You heard me. He held out the paper. The pup for the truth. Simple transaction. Rage ignited in my chest, so hot and sudden it burned away the fear. If you denied the child, I said, voice shaking with fury, why do you want him in such a demeaning way? Ki-hyun's smile didn't falter. If anything, it widened. That's my business. His tone was dismissive, almost bored. Not yours. He's my son. Is he? Ki-hyun tilted his head, studying me like I was something pitiful. Because from where I'm standing, you don't even know who his father is. The words hit like a slap. My arms tightened around the pup, protective and desperate. You're not taking him. Then I guess you'll never know the truth. Ki-hyun shrugged, sliding the paper back into his pocket. Enjoy your trial. I hear pack executions are quick these days. Merciful even. Rage exploded in my chest, white-hot and blinding. Get out! Ki-hyun raised an eyebrow. I don't think you're in a position to... I said get out! My voice cracked, loud enough that the pup stirred in my arms. I didn't care. You don't get to come in here and... Jae-ha moved. 1 second he was across the room, the next he had Ki-hyun by the arm, gripped tight enough to make Ki-hyun wince. You heard him. Jae-ha's voice was ice. Leave! Ki-hyun tried to jerk free and failed. His face flushed red. You can't just throw me out. I have every right to... Taemin stepped in front of me, blocking Ki-hyun's line of sight. You have no rights here. Not to him, not to the pup. You made that clear when you walked away. Ki-hyun's jaw worked, fury bleeding through his composure. You think this is over? You think signing a few papers makes you his saviors? He laughed, sharp and bitter. Pack law is coming for all of you, and when they do, you'll wish you'd stayed out of this. Jae-ha dragged him toward the door. Ki-hyun stumbled, caught himself, then turned back one last time. Enjoy your little fantasy while it lasts. His eyes found mine, cold and venomous. Because it won't. The door slammed shut behind them. Silence flooded the room, thick and suffocating. I stood there, still holding the pup, my whole body shaking so hard I thought my legs might give out. The anger was draining away, leaving nothing behind but fear and exhaustion and the terrible weight of everything I didn't know. Taemin reached for me, hands gentle on my shoulders. Come on, sit down before you fall. I let him guide me back to the bed. My knees buckled the second I reached the edge, and I collapsed onto the mattress, clutching the pup to my chest like he was the only thing keeping me tethered. The tears came without warning, hot and relentless, spilling down my cheeks faster than I could wipe them away. I don't know what to do. The words came out choked, broken. I don't remember that night. I can't prove anything. And he wants my son for reasons he won't even explain. We're not going to let him take your pup. Taemin crouched in front of me, voice steady and sure. I don't care what he threatens. It's not happening. Jae-ha came back into the room, and I felt rather than saw him move to my other side. Their scents wrapped around me, grounding and solid. And I hated how much I wanted to lean into it. He's not going to stop. My voice was barely a whisper. Ki-hyun doesn't lose. He'll find a way to destroy me. The sobs kept coming, racking through my chest until I could barely breathe. I buried my face against the pup's blanket, trying to muffle the sounds, trying to hold myself together, and failing completely. I have nothing, I gasped between sobs. No proof, no defense, no way to protect him. My whole body shook with the force of it, tears soaking into the soft fabric. The twins stayed close, their presence steady but not crowding, giving me space to break apart. Minutes passed. Maybe longer. I couldn't tell. The crying slowed eventually, leaving me hollow and exhausted. My throat hurt. My eyes burned. And then I stopped. The tears were still wet on my face, but something shifted. Inside me, something sharp and determined cutting through the despair. I looked up at them, and slowly, deliberately, I smiled. Both of them went still, confusion flickering across their faces. Yoonseo? Taemin's tone was careful, uncertain. I shifted the pup to one arm and reached into my pocket with the other. My fingers closed around smooth metal and glass, and I pulled it out, holding it up so they could see. Ki-hyun's phone. Jae-ha's eyes widened. How did you... When he was waving that contract around, I wiped at my face with the back of my hand, steadying my breathing. He got close enough. I just took it. Taman stared at me like he'd never seen me before. Then slowly, something that might have been admiration crossed his face. You pickpocketed him while crying. I got desperate. I looked down at the phone, heart pounding. Maybe there's something on here. Something he didn't want us to see. Jae-ha took the phone from my hand, careful not to disturb the pup. It's locked. Try his birthday. The words came out automatic. I'd watched Ki-hyun unlock his phone 1,000 times. He'd never changed it. Jae-ha typed in the numbers. The screen lit up. Unlocked. We were in. All three of us leaned closer, huddled around the small screen like it held the answers to everything. Jae-ha navigated straight to the messages, fingers moving quickly. He scrolled until he found it. The video. The one Ki-hyun had shown us earlier. He opened the message thread. There was a name at the top. Hyunwoo Choi. I froze, the air leaving my lungs in a rush. That's Ki-hyun's brother. Jae-ha's thumb stopped moving. Ki-hyun has a brother? Had. My voice came out flat, distant. He died 6 months ago. Taemin's gaze snapped to me, sharp and focused. 6 months ago? I nodded, staring at the name on the screen like it might disappear if I blinked. Jae-ha checked the date stamp on the video message. This was sent 8 months ago. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implications I couldn't quite grasp. 8 months ago. 2 months before Hyunwoo died. Ki-hyun's brother had sent him the video of me at the gala. The video that was supposed to prove I'd cheated. The evidence that was going to get me executed under pack law. But why? Why would Hyunwoo send that to his brother? What did he know? What was he trying to tell Ki-hyun? And why was he dead now? The questions piled up in my mind, each one more terrifying than the last. Taemin's hand found my shoulder, grounding me before I could spiral. This changes things, he said quietly. Jae-ha was still staring at the phone, his expression dark and unreadable. Yeah, he said finally, voice rough. It does. The phone screen glowed between us, Hyunwoo's name burning into my vision like a brand I couldn't look away from. Then it hit me. He worked there. The words tumbled out before I could think them through. Hyunwoo. He worked at the hotel where the gala was. Held. Both twins looked at me sharply. You're sure? Taemin asked. I nodded, memory surfacing through the fog. Ki-hyun mentioned it once. Said his brother managed events at some luxury hotel downtown. I never paid attention because I never met him, but I stopped, piecing it together. If he worked there, he would have had access to everything. Security footage, guest lists, room records. Jae-ha was already moving, grabbing his jacket from the chair. Which hotel? The Grandeur, on 5th. Taemin stood, his expression shifting into something focused and determined. Then that's where we start. 20 minutes later, we were in the SUV, the pup secured in a car seat the twins had apparently purchased while I'd been recovering. I didn't ask when, didn't ask why they had everything ready like they'd been planning for this. The hotel rose in front of us, all glass and steel and old money. I'd been here before, the night of the gala, but I didn't remember it. Didn't remember walking through those doors or what happened after. My hands clenched in my lap as we walked inside. The lobby was massive, marble floors gleaming under crystal chandeliers. Taemin approached the front desk, while Jae-ha stayed close to me, one hand resting protectively on my lower back. We're looking for anyone who worked with Hyunwoo Choi, Taemin said to the woman behind the desk. Events management. He passed away 6 months ago, but we need to speak with his colleagues. The woman's expression softened. Hyunwoo. Yes, that was terrible. Let me check who's on shift today. She made a call, spoke quietly into the phone, then hung up and pointed toward a hallway. David Kim is in the back office. He and Hyunwoo were close. Second door on the right. We found him sorting through paperwork, a man in his 30s with tired eyes and a name tag that read Assistant Manager. He looked up when we entered and his gaze lingered on me for a moment too long. Can I help you? We're looking for information about Hyunwoo Choi, Jae-ha said. Anything he might have left behind, notes, records, anything. David's expression shuddered. Why? Because someone might have killed him, I said quietly. And we think it's connected to something that happened here 8 months ago. David went still, Then he stood, walked to the door, and locked it. I knew something was wrong. His voice was low, almost angry. Hyunwoo didn't just die in some random accident. He was careful. Too careful. Did he leave anything? Taemin pressed. Anything at all? David hesitated, then moved to a filing cabinet in the corner. He pulled out a drawer, reached into the back, and retrieved a small leather-bound book. He gave this to me 2 days before he died. Told me to keep it safe. Said if anything happened to him, someone would come looking. He held it out, and I took it with shaking hands. Hyunwoo's diary. I opened it carefully, the pages worn and filled with neat handwriting. Most of it was mundane, shift schedules, event notes, reminders about vendor contracts. Then I found the entry dated 8 months ago. Ki-hyun called today, said his Omega might have cheated during last night's gala. Wants proof. I told him I'd check the footage. My breath caught. The next entry, 2 days later. Found it. Security camera caught Yoonseo being led into one of the private suites. He looked out of it, sent the video to Ki-hyun. He didn't seem surprised. Why? I kept reading, flipping through pages of normal entries until I reached the last week of Hyunwoo's life. Ki-hyun still hasn't filed for divorce. It's been months since I sent him that video. Why is he keeping Yoonseo around? Something doesn't add up. The next day confronted Ki-hyun today, asked him why he's dragging this out. He got defensive, told me to stay out of it. But I can't. Something's wrong. My hands were trembling now. Taemin and Jae-ha had moved closer, reading over my shoulder. The final entry was dated the day Hyunwoo died. I found the truth. God, I found it, and I wish I hadn't. Check the original footage again. The full timeline, not just the clip I sent Ki-hyun. Yoonseo was drugged. I saw Ki-hyun on camera 20 minutes before it happened, talking to the bartender. Saw money exchange hands. This wasn't an affair. Ki-hyun set him up. He orchestrated the whole thing. But why? And who did he set Yoonseo up with? I confronted him an hour ago. He denied everything. Said I was paranoid. But I know what I saw. I'm going to the police tomorrow. I have to. This is... The entry ended mid-sentence. No more words, no more pages, just blank paper where the rest of his life should have been. The diary slipped from my fingers, hitting the floor with a soft thud. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what I just read. Ki-hyun had drugged me, set me up, filmed it, used it to destroy me. And when his brother found out, he died the next day. He killed him. My voice didn't sound like mine. Ki-hyun killed his own brother to keep him quiet. Taemin picked up the diary, his jaw tight. This is evidence. We can take this to the authorities. Prove what Ki-hyun did. But it doesn't say who I was with that night. The words came out hollow. Hyunwoo didn't know. The diary ends before he could find out. Jae-ha's hand found my shoulder, grounding. We'll figure it out. This is enough to... It's not. I looked up at him, tears burning behind my eyes. Pack law doesn't care that I was drugged. They'll say I should have been more careful, that I put myself in that position, and without knowing who the father is, the pup is still illegitimate. I'm still guilty. The room fell silent. All three of us stood frozen, the weight of the truth pressing down like something we couldn't escape. Then Taemin's phone rang. The sound shattered the silence. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and his expression darkened. It's security. From the penthouse, he answered, putting it on speaker. Sir, we have a situation. The voice on the other end was tight with tension. Ki-hyun Choi is here. He's demanding entry. Says you have something that belongs to him. Taemin's jaw clenched. Don't let him in. We'll be there soon. He's not leaving, sir. He's threatening to call the authorities. Claims you're holding his property illegally. Stall him. We're on our way. Taemin hung up, and I saw the fury simmering beneath his controlled exterior. Property. Ki-hyun had called my son property. Something cold and sharp settled in my chest. I looked down at the phone still clutched in my hand, Ki-hyun's phone, and an idea sparked. Wait. I pulled up the call log, scrolling through quickly. Most of the numbers were labeled. Work contacts, restaurants, a few family members. But one number appeared over and over. No name attached, just digits. Calls going back months, some lasting seconds. others stretching for minutes. "What are you doing?" Jae-ha asked. "Ki-hyun's obsessed with my son for a reason." I kept scrolling, counting. 15 calls in the last 2 weeks alone. He doesn't want him out of spite. He wants him for someone else. I hit dial before I could second-guess myself. The phone rang once, twice. Then a voice answered. Male, clipped, impatient. "Do you have the child?" My breath caught. I forced myself to stay calm, to think fast. "Yes." I dropped my voice lower, trying to mimic Ki-hyun's tone, sharper, colder. A pause on the other end. Then, "Good. When can we meet?" I glanced at the twins. Both of them had gone completely still, eyes locked on me. "Where?" I kept my voice steady, authoritative. "Same place as last time. The warehouse on Pier 7, 1 hour." "I'll be there." The line went dead. I lowered the phone, my hands shaking now that the adrenaline was catching up. "He's buying my son." The words tasted like poison. "Ki-hyun's selling him to someone, and that someone is expecting delivery." Taemin took the phone from me, checking the number. "Pier 7. That's industrial district, abandoned during night hours. We need to go." I was already moving toward the door. "If we can catch whoever this is—" "You're not going alone." Jae-ha's voice was firm. "I have to." I turned back to face them. If he sees you, he'll run. But if he thinks Ki-hyun's coming, he'll stay. He'll talk. Maybe he'll even tell us what happened that night. "This is dangerous." Taemin stepped closer. "If Ki-hyun's involved with someone willing to buy a child, they're not going to just let you walk away." "I know." My voice was steadier than I felt. "But this might be our only chance to find out who I was with at that gala. Who the real father is. If we can prove it was a setup, prove Ki-hyun orchestrated everything, Pak Law might actually listen." They exchanged a look. That silent twin communication I still couldn't read. "We'll stay close," Jae-ha said finally. "You go in, but we're nearby. Anything goes wrong, we move." I nodded. "The pup? We'll bring him. Keep him in the car with one of us." Taemin's tone left no room for argument. "You're not doing this alone, Yoonseo. Not completely." 30 minutes later, we were parked 2 blocks from Pier 7. The area was exactly as Taemin described. Empty warehouses, broken streetlights, the kind of place where people went when they didn't want to be found. Jae-ha stayed in the SUV with the pup, engine running. Taemin walked me to the edge of the pier, then melted into the shadows where he could watch without being seen. I walked the rest of the way alone. The warehouse loomed ahead, rusted metal and shattered windows. A single light glowed from inside, cutting through the darkness. My footsteps echoed too loud on the concrete. Every instinct screamed at me to turn back, but I kept moving. The door was already open. I stepped inside, and the smell hit me first. Oil and decay and something stale that made my stomach turn. A figure stood in the center of the space, backlit by a hanging lamp. I couldn't make out features, just a silhouette. Tall, broad-shouldered, familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. I'd seen that shape before, in the video, the person leading me down the hallway at the gala. "You're early." The voice was smooth, cultured, not what I expected. I stayed near the door, keeping distance between us. "I want this done quickly." The figure shifted, and I caught a glimpse of his profile. My heart stuttered. I knew that face. Not well, but I'd seen it. One of Ki-hyun's business associates. Someone who'd been at our apartment once or twice for meetings I wasn't supposed to attend. "Where's the child?" he asked. "Safe. First, I need to know." He stepped forward into the light, and his eyes narrowed as he got a better look at me. Recognition flashed across his face. Then something darker. "You're not Ki-hyun." I didn't run, didn't move, just held his gaze. "No, I'm not." His hand moved to his jacket. I saw the gun as he drew it, the metal gleaming under the dim light. "You shouldn't have come here." "Who are you?" My voice didn't shake. "What did Ki-hyun pay you to do to me?" "That's not your concern anymore." "You were there, at the gala. I saw the video. You're the one who—" His finger moved to the trigger. Time slowed. I saw his hand tense, saw the barrel point directly at my chest, saw his eyes go cold and empty. And then, "Drop the gun, uncle." Taman's voice cut through the warehouse, cold and commanding. The man froze. His eyes darted to the entrance where both twins now stood, blocking the only exit. Jeha had his phone out, already recording. "Taman! Jeha!" The gun wavered, confusion bleeding into his expression. "What are you doing here? We could ask you the same thing." Jeha moved closer, positioning himself between me and the weapon. "You've been gone for months, said your wife was pregnant. That, you needed time away from the family business." The man's face went pale. "I can explain." "Then explain why you're pointing a gun at an Omega who doesn't even know who you are." Taman's tone was ice. "Explain what the hell you're doing in a warehouse in the middle of the night expecting to buy a child." The gun lowered slightly. The man looked at me, then back at his nephews, and I saw the exact moment he realized he couldn't lie his way out of this. "My wife can't have children." His voice came out defeated, hollow. "We tried for years, every treatment, every specialist. Nothing worked. So you decided to buy someone else's?" Jeha's disgust was palpable. "I love her too much to divorce her." The words came faster now, desperate. "But the family expects an heir. My father expects. Without a child, everything I've built means nothing." "That doesn't explain this." Taman gestured to me. "Doesn't explain Ki-hyun, or that video, or any of it." The man exhaled slowly, and when he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. "My wife introduced me to Ki-hyun, said he had a solution, an Omega husband who wouldn't ask questions, who could give us what we needed without complications." He looked at me, something that might have been guilt flickering across his face. "Ki-hyun drugged you that night at the gala. Made sure you wouldn't remember. I did what I had to do. Quick, clinical, then I left." My stomach turned. The room spun. "The deal was simple," he continued. "I'd get the child. You'd never know who I was. Ki-hyun would walk away with enough money to disappear and start over somewhere else." His hands shook. "Everyone wins." "Everyone wins?" I found my voice raw and shaking with rage. "You violated me, stole my choice, my body, my life, and you think that's winning? I needed an heir. You needed to face reality." Taman's voice was lethal. "This isn't some business transaction. This is a person, a child, and you were willing to destroy both of them for your convenience." The man's expression hardened. "You don't understand what it's like. The pressure, the expectations." "We understand perfectly." Jeha's tone was flat. "We just don't care." Something shifted in the man's eyes. Calculation, fear, shame twisting into something uglier. "You can't tell anyone." The gun came back up, this time aimed at Taman. "If this gets out, if the family knows what I did, put the gun down." Taman didn't move, didn't flinch. "I can't. You know I can't." His finger tightened on the trigger. "I'm sorry, I really am, but I can't let you ruin everything." The shot never came. The warehouse doors exploded inward, and suddenly there were people everywhere. Pack enforcers in tactical gear, weapons drawn, voices shouting commands I couldn't process through the ringing in my ears. The man dropped the gun. Hands went up. Someone tackled him to the ground. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The truth was crushing me from the inside out. That man, a stranger whose name I didn't even know. He was the one who... My knees buckled. Taman caught me before I hit the ground, arms wrapping around me as the world fractured into pieces I didn't know how to put back together. "I've got you," he murmured against my hair. "It's over. You're safe." But it wasn't over. Not really. They arrested him, read him his rights, dragged him toward the doors while he shouted about lawyers and family influence and how this was all a misunderstanding. I watched it happen from a distance, Taman's arms still around me, Jeha's hands steady on my shoulder. The enforcers had questions. So many questions. But the twins handled it. Showed them the diary, the phone records, the video evidence. By the time they were done, the enforcers were looking at me with something that might have been pity. "We'll need your statement," one of them said gently, "but it can wait until tomorrow. Get some rest." Rest? Like that was possible. The drive back to the penthouse was silent. Jeha had retrieved the pup from the car, and I held him the entire way, needing the weight of him to remind me this was real, that he was mine, that no one was taking him away. Days passed and the twins moved around me with careful efficiency. Now Taman disappeared into the kitchen. Jeha checked the locks twice as he got home. I sat on the couch, staring at nothing. Yoonseo, Taman's voice pulled me back. He was crouched in front of me, a glass of water in his hand. You need to drink something. I took the glass. Didn't drink. Just held it. I know who the father is now. My voice sounded far away. Your uncle. Someone I don't even know. Someone who... The word stuck in my throat. Hey. Jaya sat beside me, close enough I could feel his warmth. Look at me. I did. What he did doesn't define you, or your son. You're not what happened to you. But the trial, Pack law, we have evidence now. Taman's hand covered mine. The diary, the confession, the enforcers witnessed everything. They can't execute you for something that was done to you against your will. I wanted to believe him, wanted to let the hope in, but fear had its claws too deep. Come here. Taman stood, gently pulling me to my feet. You haven't slept in days. You need rest. They led me to the bedroom, tucked the pup into his bassinet, and when I lay down, too exhausted to protest, they didn't leave. Taman stretched out on one side of me, Jai Ha on the other, their scents wrapped around me, pine and rain and safety. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I let myself sink into it. Why are you doing this? I whispered into the darkness. Why do you care so much? Silence. Then Jai Ha's voice, low and honest. Because you're ours. I'm not. You are. Taman's hand found mine under the blanket. We felt it the moment we walked into that apartment. The bond, the pull, and every day since, it's only gotten stronger. I'm broken. The confession hurt coming out. Used, damaged goods with a child that isn't even. Stop. Jeha turned me to face him, his eyes intense in the dim light. You're not broken. You survived. You fought. You're still fighting. And that pup is yours. Ours if you'll let us be part of this. Tears burned behind my eyes. I don't know how to trust this, how to believe it's real. Then let us show you. Taman's lips brushed my temple. Every day, for as long as it takes. Something in me cracked. The walls I'd built to survive came down, and I let myself feel it. The bond humming between us, the safety, the want. I turned my head, met Taman's gaze, and kissed him. He responded immediately, gentle but certain, like he'd been waiting for permission. When we broke apart, Jaiha was there, his hand cupping my face, his kiss deeper but just as careful. We'll protect you, Taman murmured against my skin. Both of you, whatever it takes. And for the first time I believed it. The trial came faster than I expected. 7 days after the warehouse, I stood in front of the Pack Council, the twins on either side of me, and watched as Ki-hyun was brought in wearing handcuffs. He didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge my existence. Ki-hyun Choi, the head counselor, began, you stand accused of conspiracy, assault, and endangering an Omega, an unborn child. How do you plead? Not guilty, murmurs rippled through the room. The evidence suggests otherwise. They presented everything. The diary, the phone records, the confession from the twins' uncle, who'd been arrested and charged separately. Why did you resort to violence during the pregnancy? The counselor asked. If this was a business arrangement as claimed, why harm the carrier? Ki-hyun's smile was cold. Because he cheated on me, disrespected our bond. I couldn't stand looking at him, knowing what he'd done. You orchestrated the encounter yourself. Prove it. But they could, and they did. The verdict came swift, guilty on all counts. The uncle tried separately, received the same. I thought it was over. Then 3 days later, I got the call. Both men had been released on probation, pulled strings, made deals, walked free. Outside the courthouse, Ki-hyun found us. This isn't finished, he said, eyes locked on mine. I'm coming back for that bastard. And when I do, not even your alpha kings will stop me. The twins moved to respond, but the uncle appeared, flanked by lawyers. Taman, Jeha. His voice was formal, cold. Effective immediately, you're removed from all family business holdings. Your shares, your positions. Gone. Jaeha's hands curled into fists. You can't. I just did. They walked away, leaving us standing in the cold. The twins were silent on the drive home. So was I. But when we got inside, Taemin pulled me close, and Jaeha wrapped his arms around both of us. This isn't over, Jaeha said quietly. No, I agreed, looking down at the pup sleeping peacefully in my arms. It's just beginning. The end. They stole his memories, weaponized his body, and now they want his son. But Yoonseo isn't running anymore. With twin alphas who chose him when no one else would, he's ready to fight back. The problem? Ki-hyun and the uncle just walked free. The danger has only just begun. Drop a comment if you enjoyed this story. Part 2 is coming. Are you ready? Like, subscribe. Don't miss what happens next.